The Chinese Communist Party is holding a key meeting this week with the economy front and center as pressures mount. Beijing is doubling down on a state-controlled approach amid deflation, unemployment, and weak wages, raising questions about what measures could realistically restore domestic confidence and global credibility. We spoke with Jacqueline Deal, president and CEO of defense research firm Long-Term Strategy Group and advisory board member of State Armor, for insights.
They seem to not want to transition to what we would consider to be kind of a normal economy that's based on consumption and more services. They seem to be very intent on this kind of neo-mercantilist or Marxist mercantilist attempt to kind of control the factors, the critical inputs, the means of production, the choke points for the rest of the world, at the expense of kind of real wage growth for their people and quality of living improvements and maybe employment. So there must be pressure building up within the system. What's the next kind of trick? Is it some sort of continued seduction of Western financial elites that's going to save them this time, or some sort of tech breakthrough that they may think they have up their sleeves? What could they possibly do in the face of headwinds like deflation, or we're not supposed to even use that word, I guess, if you're a Chinese economist, the continuing deflation or bursting of the real bubble, as I mentioned, unemployment. There's so many challenges, the way that they've despoiled their environment.
Expanding on that, we have seen, to your point, record high youth unemployment, to the point that at one point they stopped releasing those numbers because they couldn't cover it up anymore. You even saw Xi Jinping ahead of the Golden Week holidays issuing a rare nod to more stimulus measures from either, the China central banks. Also, they had this new thing where they were offering subsidies to, those who were deemed, they don't really say poor, but people who were struggling, even to students who weren't able to get jobs. That's something we haven't seen before. So there is that level on the economic scale. You didn't see that consumerism even after the Golden Week, huge travel holiday weekend, or 8 days, I should say. Given all of that leading into this fourth plenum, to your point, what can this 5-year plan review do to kind of placate, if you will, the domestic arena inside China? And then on the flip side, with that, potential meeting between Xi and President Trump, how do you see maybe the U.S. leveraging this domestic turmoil, if you will?
Secretary Besson said is we can't really trust, or the Chinese, our counterparts in these negotiations can't be trusted. He said that. So where does that leave us in terms of prospects for a deal? And again, I think that just increases the pressure on the General Secretary. What can Xi Jinping say at this point? Because notwithstanding the rhetoric about we're the backstops or the leaders of globalization and continued free trade in the world and global engagement, his actions have belied that. The threat that the CCP has leveled against the United States, but not just the United States, all the countries that are involved in the global supply chain is palpable, is demonstrable, and so it kind of belies the idea that they've been, or the narrative that Xi Jinping has been pushing. So I think, it raises the stakes for what gets discussed, and I don't think it's just a question of more rhetoric like high quality or new quality productive forces or dual circulation. I don't think a slogan is going to get them out of this.
Given all of that, what kind of are you watching to come out of this meeting? What would be the main areas that you're like, oh, this is going to spell a huge change for the next however many years, maybe decades ahead?
Well, I mean, if they move away from some of the insistence that they're backstopping the existing global order and double down on the idea that they're offering some new alternative, I think that will be a sign that there's recognition that the narrative or the line that they were pushing isn't flying, and they need to come up with some other offer to the world or pitch. And I think it'll be very tall order for that to be credible at this point.
Jackie Deal, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tiffany.